Hello and welcome to another NS9 post-game show. This time after a win. I'm Cody. That's Neil. We're raising it, baby. Buccos
We
win
are.
7-5.
No, that was a fun game and a fun series. I was dreading this series like nothing else. I'm like, this is going to be 4 miserable games. These are, I'm going to talk about like 7-0 losses every night. This was fun.
Right, like you said, this whole thing, this whole series was like nobody wanted to see it. Nobody wanted to know what was going to happen. Nobody wanted us to get embarrassed. And we turned out Pirates learned how to play baseball just in time for the series.
Yeah. We'll
as well as Derek Shelton learning how to manage a baseball team. But we'll get into that.
This entire series has been a vindication for me. I've taken a lot of stuff on the chin because of my Shelton defense, but it's finally coming up roses.
I gotta say, this series did not help the narrative.
I disagree.
It helped your narrative. Didn't help my narrative.
Because I don't know, all the lineups I kept hearing about how it's a terrible lineup, and then they go out and score 5 runs every night. You know, it's been fun, and you're getting it from guys you wouldn't expect.
It's dumb luck. But anyway, let's talk about the game first. We'll tease that for the end of the show.
All right.
So let's talk about starting pitching. You had Falter out there for 4 innings. Not great. Gives up 8 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and only 3 strikeouts. What is your takeaway from Bailey Falter's, I believe, second start with the Pittsburgh Pirates?
It's hard to take anything, in my opinion, really, from Bailey Falter facing the Braves, because the Braves are on a different plane of existence offensively. Like, Michael Harris II is their 9-hitter, and he is the former Rookie of the Year, over 800 OPS. There are no bad hitters in that lineup. You know, it's like, even when you get through like Acuna and you get the Albies and it's Riley and it's Olsen and it's Darno, and it never ends. But it wasn't good for him. He didn't look good. He didn't look good at all. 2 homers, a lot of hard contact.
It felt like more than 2 homers. That's
yeah. 100%. I mean, it's hard to blame him too much for giving up a home run to Matt Olson, because Matt Olson's homering off of every living soul. But, you know, he wasn't getting strikeouts. He walked a couple. There's too many base runners, I think. And I know we got him because his fastball looks faster than it actually is, but he didn't look very good at all.
No, and like I said, did somebody just ring the doorbell? Not expecting a package, so I don't know who that could be. Go ahead.
No, I'm jamming.
Okay. I'll let her figure it out.
Right.
We were talking about the starting pitching, right?
Yeah, Falter,
like I said before, it seemed like Falter gave up more than he did, and that's just how. I mean, maybe it's just because it's a day game and it feels like it's longer, or he's just that bad that you're expecting it to be worse. But you made a good point that against the Braves lineup, I think he did the best he could.
Well, I want to do the best he could because the Braves are good, but I mean, 8 hits over 4 innings and 2 walks. Like, there were 2 men on base every single inning. That's not sustainable. That's not good.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I didn't really get to see his first start. I don't forget what I was doing. I didn't get to watch him pitch, but I didn't hate the trade as much as some, because since they clearly didn't like Rodolfo Castro, I'm like, okay, fine, cash in for someone you think he can fix. But he doesn't look very good.
Yeah, no, looking back at that trade, it just, to me, doesn't make sense. I liked Rudy. I think you just had to work with him a litof more. And then to get Falter in return was just kind of like, okay, you're going to try and make this guy into a middle of the road starter, I guess.
But, trading Castro at his lowest value is not something like I'm a huge fan of.
Right.
I just, I think for whatever reason, Castro didn't have a future here. So I guess, want to get rid of the middle of the infield glut. You think you can fix him. I think my issue is that this team hasn't proven they can take young pitchers and make them good.
Right.
Yeah. Except
Right.
maybe
I agree.
I was
I
gonna say
mean,
except maybe Keller, but then the Keller regression, but we don't have to get into that today.
right. And like the test to that, like, yeah, you brought up the Keller example, but the test to that would be, okay, what are they going to do with Priester and Ortiz? Are they going to get better, or are they going to follow the same path as Mitch Keller, and it's going to take longer than it should for them to get where they need to be?
Yeah.
Not saying they need to be aces, but like,
No.
they need to be good MLB pitchers.
Yeah, I don't think you're even asking for much. Like, you're just asking for some back end starters from a guy like Bailey Falter. I don't think anyone's asking him to be like this incredible pitcher, but it's got to be better than today.
Right, I agree. And then we move on from him to my personal highlight of the game, the player of the game in my eyes. I mean, obviously, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Obviously, Ke'Bryan Hayes is going to get all the praise, but Thomas Hatch comes in 4 innings, only gives up 2 hits, gets 2 strikeouts, and only threw 42 pitches.
That was insane.
That's the part where I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
What a relief outing for Thomas Hatch. And that's really what brought me back into the game, where I was like, oh, we got a chance here? This guy's throwing BBs.
Because like even though we were hacking away, it was like 4th through, like, oh well, the dam's gonna break eventually, and then they're gonna score a bunch of runs. But yeah, you stole my line. I thought Thomas Hatch was the best player today. I mean, 4 innings of relief work, shutout is insane. Like, and I guess if you can't get good starting pitching, you can get a bunch of guys who can go 3 innings in relief, and you can add them to the Andre Jackson collection.
Right. And like, I think it was after the 3rd inning, I was like, wait, he's still out there? You know, it was like just one of those feelings of like, we're doing this? Like, we're leaving this guy out there and seeing what happens to him against the Braves? I stepped up.
The 3rd inning, I was like, oh, okay, so it's gonna be like, I couldn't believe he came out for the 8th.
Right, I was shocked.
I was like, holy, like, this is incredible. And he did exactly what he needed to do today. First appearance as a Pirate. Don't want to say like, oh, he's the future, but no, I'm liking this trend of having guys who can go 2 innings. I feel like having 2 guys, if you can, we had a hard time finding guys who gave us 1 good inning. Finding guys who can give us 2 good innings is like nirvana.
Right. And I was saying this as I was walking to my desk to get ready for post game. I was talking to myself, but my girlfriend's in the room, so I thought she might like comment, but she didn't. But she didn't know what I was talking about, because who cares about the Pirates other than us?
Yeah, exactly.
But I was like, how do we go from having one of the better closer pitchers like Bednar, or even back end bullpens, Bednar, Holderman, I don't know who else you want to include in that, but that's who I thought of. How do we go from having them being great to our middle bullpen, like our middle inning guys being terrible, to the script just flipping?
Yeah.
Our middle inning guys are now phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And then Bednar gives up 3 runs the other night to blow a save. How's that happen?
I don't know. If I told you, I'd probably be in a front office job right now. No, it's only been like 3 appearances, but you can definitely see why they liked Hatch and Jackson.
Yeah.
Why they claimed like Jackson, when he's on and he has that control, has some of the most disgusting stuff I've seen out of the pen all year. And then Thomas Hatch, really, it seems like he just spammed his he had a cutter and changeup mix that worked really, really well.
Yeah.
And it carved up the best lineup in baseball by a country mile. I mean,
oh yeah.
That's stuff you get from like MLB The Show.
Right. And then going to someone that I had mentioned, a little regression. Holderman comes in the 9th. He strikes out 3, but he gave up a run, and it's like, whoa, like, you came in to shut it down, dude.
Yeah.
So do that. Don't play around. But he ends up he cleans up, gets the 3 Ks, but giving up that run made it interesting.
I have no idea if Colin Holderman is good or not.
Right.
Because like there are days you go out there like, wow, this is so dominant, and then other days, like kind of like today, where you're like, how is this guy on a major league roster?
Right.
We all know he has like the lovely fastball. He has a nasty cutter. His control, I think, is always going to hold him back. Like that inning took 30 pitches.
Yeah.
And he came close to walking multiple people. But he has such nasty stuff. Like he's pumping 99-mile-an-hour sinkers, which should be really hard to hit.
Yeah.
So I have no idea if I would even count him as a reliable eighth inning guy yet. I still think he has a lot of issues, but I mean, after the Acuna hit, he was lights out.
Yeah. After that, like you said, pitched great, got 3 strikeouts, got out of there. But yeah, I think that's all we got to really talk about when it comes to pitching. Just like I said, the flip flop of the bullpen. It's just been weird. And we need Olson, or not Olson. I just saw his name. That's why I said that. We need Holderman to kind of solidify himself so that we can rely on him as that setup man.
Yeah. And like he's definitely not there yet. I think he gives up a lot of hard contact. I think it's mostly just location. Like I think he leaves his sinker out over the plate way too much. And it can't be 99 miles an hour, but MLB hitters can still hit 99 if it's sitting in the middle of the plate.
Right. Right.
But nope, I'm fine with him today. It was good. It was a 3-run lead. we got, and I think that segues into the offense that gave us that 3-run lead. Yeah.
So now let's move on to this atrocious lineup that Shelton put out today. So let's talk about it. You had Palacios. He got the 1 hit. Reynolds.
No, you didn't get a hit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw it. He got a run. How did he get on base with an error?
I think it was like a fielder's choice.
Yeah, sorry. I was just looking at the wrong column.
Yeah, you're right.
Reynolds, 2 hits. Hayes, obviously the 2 hits, 3 RBIs. First Pirate to get 3 RBIs in 3 straight games since Jason Bay. That's pretty freaking cool. That's what I saw. I think it was Joe Block tweeted that.
That sounds about right. That's a Joe Block stat.
That's a Joe Block tweet. But so Hayes did that. And then you had Piguero towards the bottom of the lineup. 2 hits, 2 RBIs. I don't know how Derek Shelton does it, but he just throws darts at the board and says, that's the lineup I'm going with, and it works.
Yeah.
Can you explain it to me? Can you explain it to me? Mr. Derek Shelton's the best manager we could have right now?
I mean, listen, I'll say this much. I've been hearing word that Aaron Boone might be gone at the end of the season. I would fire Derek Shelton in a heartbeat if we could get Aaron Boone as our manager. But I think that Derek Shelton is a big matchups type of guy. So he plays Palacios because it's a righty against a lefty. And, poor Josh Palacios today, man. He almost had an opposite field home run, and he had that, I don't know if you saw it, but like that 109-mile-an-hour line out to first. Yeah. To first. Like that was crazy. I mean, I like that he moved Hayes up in the lineup again, rewarding it. And then, I mean, I don't know. I like the fact that he's moved Suwinski down in the order. And I think Suwinski benefited from that today. You could do a lot worse than Henry Davis, Jack Suwinski, and Liover Piguero as like your 5 through 7. Like that gave us some solidity at the bottom of the lineup. And then Jason DeLay had his 1 good game of the month.
Yeah.
I don't know how we scored so many runs off the Braves for the last 4 days, but I'm not going to complain.
Right. And especially starting out this series against Strider, like that was unexpected. But
I saw this one stat. It was like Spencer Strider against like the White Sox, the Pirates, and the Royals has like a 10 ERA this year.
Oh my goodness. That's ridiculous.
So he's bad against bad teams.
Sometimes you just have those guys, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get back to this lineup. I mean, or not the lineup. Let's talk about Hayes. Let's talk about how Hayes has been trending upward, finally getting that OPS up above 700. It's at 703 after this game. Have you seen a change in what he's doing? Like, I still don't get it because he's still chasing every slider out of the zone.
I mean, he still doesn't walk or take pitches to my liking.
Right.
But the biggest issue Hayes has had throughout his entire career is that when he hits the ball in the air, he doesn't hit it hard. Like, you know how he always shows up at the top of every leaderboard, like hard hit baseballs. Like he if the ball's in the zone, he will make contact. Like he does not whiff in the zone. He's like the anti-Jack Sawinski there. But as soon as the ball gets elevated, it's a softly hit ball.
Yep.
And today, I think, and over this week, like he's actually been hitting the ball into the air with velocity, with force. I haven't seen it. I am no coach. I could not tell you the mechanics guys make with their swings. The biggest thing I noticed ever is that Josh Bell like changed his stance like every week.
Yeah.
But maybe they brought back the toe tap that they were talking about a month ago. But I can't say Hayes is back because I've been burned too many times before.
Yeah, I like that. I like that comment. I lost it now, but where was it? Oh well. Just know that we appreciate that comment. I lost it, but but yeah, the thing with Hayes is just like, don't get me wrong. I'm with the Jolly Roger report here. I don't want Hayes as my leadoff guy. He doesn't have the on-base percentage to do so. He doesn't take enough balls. He doesn't walk. He doesn't do anything to benefit this team at the leadoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 3-hitter is a little iffy. I mean, obviously, I think Shelton's playing the trend here. He's playing better, so let's put him in the 3 spot. Mm-hmm. He does well. Whatever. The one good thing Shelton does this month. But I would ideally, I think, have Hayes either 6 or below in the lineup. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed. I also don't really hate the trend of like playing, or like the idea of playing your hot guys like early in the lineup. Like I really don't. Yeah. You know, I think Josh Palacios is not hot by any stretch of the imagination. But like I actually don't hate the idea of like, you know, yes, Hayes can be like the 6-hitter or the 7-hitter or whatever. But I also don't hate the idea is like if a Peguero gets hot or a Hayes gets hot, you move them up to 3, you reward the good behavior. And especially since like you need your guys who are performing to get the most at bats. I think that's fine. I know a lot of people really like having like a set place in the lineup and like that's where you bat every day. I don't think that's as important as some people say, but maybe someone can tell me.
I used to think it was really important. I lean more to what you're saying. Like you need to play to the trend of your guys. You can't just like if Hayes has been hitting lights out, like going 3 for 4 every day in the 8th spot. Like it's a no-brainer. You're going to move him up to the 3 spot, 3 or 4 spot.
But he doesn't have the power to be in the 3 spot every day.
Exactly. There's no power. You already said it. He gets weak contact outside of the zone or outside of the middle of the zone. And it's like you just can't have that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, again, I think I need to see this from Hayes for about a month before I'm like, oh yeah, we have our third baseman back, but he now has a league average OPS. I don't know how, but it's welcome.
Right. But anyway, I want to talk about a negative here, and I don't know if a lot of people are wanting to talk about it. I feel like it's being avoided. The conversation is being avoided. What is going on with Henry Davis? The guy stinks right now.
He hasn't been good since he took Ohtani twice deep.
Right. It's like, did it take all of his skill for his entire life to do that? And now he's just an average player, below average player?
I mean, it's interesting because, like, his strikeout rates aren't absurdly high. He's hitting the ball pretty hard. Like, he's hitting the ball hard.
I don't disagree.
44% of the time. Like, he's almost halfway. I do think, and I think Wire Scrape said that, like, he's struggling with sliders and breaking balls.
Yeah.
Whether that means getting hard contact with them. But, like, I don't know. I'm not worried about Davis. I think rookie growing pains are pretty common. And if I don't know, I'm just like looking at his underlying numbers now. I think he's going to be fine. All things considered, I think he hits the ball hard enough. I think he walks enough. I think he limits his strikeouts enough. He hits the ball into the air hard. Like, it's hard for me to be like, this guy's toast. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping. It's like a hope that I have, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I just, the way, maybe it's because I talk to Jim too much,
Mhm.
but like the way that he's talked up and then the way that I'm seeing him play now, I'm like,
Mhm.
where's all the hype? Obviously he had the great game against Otani. When he first came up, he was really good.
Mhm.
I guess I was just expecting him to be, me being the average Pirates fan that doesn't follow as closely as some like you, Neil.
Yeah.
I expected him to be this star, like an Andrew McCutcheon-esque, like
Yeah.
just pops off the page type of guy. And now to see him struggle, I'm just not understanding it quite right.
Yeah. I mean, I think Wireless Graves are the best like about the slider because I don't know. He has a -6 run value against the slider. 40% whiff and batting less than 100 against slider. So he's got to get
Yeah.
that figured out. Um,
Yeah. And I
and,
mean, like you
it's
said,
not,
it's up to rookie growing pains.
yeah,
So
exactly. Like he's not going to see, for the most part, he's not going to see MLB level sliders in AAA.
no.
You're just not like that. The level of competition there is not good enough, and so it's just going to take a lot of trial and error. Um, I mean, a really unfortunate thing is because he's not catching, his value really dips. Being a sub 700 OPS corner outfielder is not a valuable guy.
No.
But I'm not worried because I know I think his makeup's good. I'm sure he knows what's wrong. I just hope that Andy Haynes can help him figure it out.
That's funny.
Well, I'm not saying Andy Haynes is good. I'm huffing hopium right now.
Speaking of hitting, I think I noticed something on. I wish I had a picture of it, but someone in the on deck circle, I'm pretty sure had like an upgraded version of the speed stick thing that Shelton. I am like 85% sure I saw one of those today.
You know what time of the game it was? I want to go back and find this.
I forget when it was, but it was like it looked like I was looking at it because it was up on the screen for a decent amount of time, and I'm like, that doesn't look like a bat with like a donut on it. And like I know they have the long donuts now.
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't look like that. It looks like there's like a mechanism on the inside of that. I'm like, is that a speed hitter? Is that an upgraded speed hitter?
If that
so,
is,
I mean, I assume Shelton's still making residuals off that thing, so that's why they have it.
That would be incredible if that's actually a thing like that the Pirates are using.
Right. Like I saw it and I was like, no way. Like it looked like a handle that went to right where you like the barrel would start. And then where the barrel would start was like a rod with a long weight in between it and then the cap of the bat.
That sounds like a speed hitter.
Right. It looked like a speed hitter. I was like, they're using speed hitters? Like not to say speed hitter's a bad tool. It's just funny.
It is really funny.
Shelton's the spokesperson for it.
I'm not gonna lie, I was around baseball a lot, like when that was like a big commercial. I don't remember anyone ever buying a speed hitter.
Never had a speed hitter. Not once have I used one.
They're $130, so no wonder no one ever bought one.
$130. I never bought a baseball bat over $100.
Yeah, no, same. Maybe that's why I was so bad.
Right. Same. But I think we're done talking about the game. Should we?
We need to shout out Piguero, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Piguero, what a lovely surprise!
Yes.
Like everyone, and rightfully so, thought he was absolutely toast after last year.
Not me.
But the tools are so good. Like watching him play is a lot of fun.
No, I agree, and I know people didn't like you said, wrote him off after last year. But the average Pirates fan, I was like, I think this guy could be something. Like, give him a shot, see what he can be. And he's proving that he can be an MLB starter, I think.
Yeah.
He's I think, in position to be the second baseman next year, the starting second baseman.
Yeah, I think he is, and I think just like with the speed, I think he got over his yips as like a second as a fielder like he had last year. Like last year, I don't know if you ever like watched him in the minors. He was bad.
Yeah,
Like he legitimately could not make throws. I think he's gotten over that, and I mean, he when he makes hard contact, it is pretty. I think that needs to be an improvement. He obviously has to cut down on the strikeout rates a bit. But again, I think we talked about rookie growing pains. I don't think he's going to stay a 40% strikeout hitter. I think he's seeing the
no,
ball too well.
right. I agree. I really think this guy can be, at the very least, a short-term future at second base.
Yeah, he definitely passes the eye test more than like an Alika Williams or a Nick Gonzalez or a Tuca Marcano. I'm sorry, I'm not even going to
Tucapita Marcano. You can't say Tucapita.
Tuca Marcano. I tripped over my
It's
words.
okay. We like to call him Tuke around here.
Okay, yeah. I think in his short time, I think he passes like the eye test of like this is what an actual MLB second baseman looks like.
Yeah, I agree.
It's been a while.
I like Alika. I think it's Alika. I like
Mhm.
Alika Williams. He needs to develop more. I think he'll probably, yeah, he was smacking the ball in AAA, but I think if he goes back to AAA next season, I don't think it's going to happen this season. Next season, gets a lot of time in AAA, gets a lot more at bats. Like that's all it is. He needs to work on his offense. His defense, I think, is great.
Is he that play today? The throw
That
out
deep,
Ozuna, that was incredible.
Yeah, getting it deep behind third base and throwing it across the diamond, that was great.
Yeah, and I think at this point, you kind of like have Jared Triolo and Aquila Williams kind of vying for the same roster spot next year of like the defensive first and like middle infielder who can like play multiple positions. I don't know how you roster both of those guys next year with Cruz back.
Right. I mean, right now Triolo I think takes that spot.
I'd agree. I think just because of his flexibility. Yeah. But both bats are pretty underwhelming. And Triolo was awful today.
He was, but I like Triolo a lot.
I understand. I like Triolo too. I mean, I think we've been searching for like the next Josh Harrison ever since he's left, and he's like the closest thing we've ever had. Like maybe G1 Bay, but G1 Bay is too much of an idiot to be like Josh Harrison.
He's too much raw talent and not enough baseball IQ.
Yeah, like Josh Harrison was like a high baseball IQ kind of guy. Bay is like the worst baseball IQ guy I've ever seen.
Right.
Triolo has that baseball IQ. I just don't think he has the athleticism of a Josh Harrison. He's never evading a rundown by staying in the base path and like swimming by guys. Like that's just never going to be who he is.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. It doesn't have to be like that. And
no,
we're not really, I feel like we're not searching for that. Like, yeah, you're right. Everybody wants that super utility guy like a Josh Harrison, but you don't got to be,
No, you don't got to be.
You don't got to be exactly like Josh Harrison.
I think it was just so much fun. I kind of like yearn for it again.
Yeah. But anyway, I think it's time.
I think so.
I'm going to start this off with a question.
All right.
Neil.
Mm-hmm.
What does a Major League Baseball manager do?
All right. So my eyes, I think that a baseball manager.
Not in your eyes. What do they do?
I mean, from what I've read and from what I've heard, what I understand it to be is that Major League Baseball managers are there to keep the clubhouse together. That is the biggest thing. They are there to keep the clubhouse together, to give input on the lineups, and to make the in-game decisions based off the analytics given to them by the front office. That is what I understand a Major League Baseball manager to do.
So you don't even think that a MLB manager makes the lineup? He just gives his input.
I think that it's a mixture. So, for example, I don't believe that if you asked Jarek Shelton at the beginning of the year if he would rather have Endy Rodriguez or Austin Hedges, I think he would say, if you asked him, he would say Endy Rodriguez. And that if he had a choice, he would not play Austin Hedges as often as he did. I think that stuff like that is a front office decision. I do think he gets a say in stuff like rest days and where people go in a lineup. But in terms of who are like the everyday starters, no, I think that's a front office decision, 100%.
I don't like that answer.
That's fair. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm not gonna. No, I'm not. It's not that you're wrong, because I think you're right when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think it's wrong for a front office to have that much say in the everyday lineup.
I understand.
I think there should be a baseline of like it's not like Moneyball. It's not like you have Ben Cherington going down into Derek Shelton's office and saying, "Oh, why aren't you playing Hedges today?" No, that's not how this works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, my understanding is that there is an understanding from GM to manager to the rest of the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Of this is the plan. If we deviate to the plan, we will talk about the plan again.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's my understanding that the plan that was set out was, we're going to play Austin Hedges more than anybody else that is deserving. And that's the front office's call.
Yeah.
My thing is that it seems that Shelton was just like, okay.
I mean,
no, fight back. Be like, listen, we can develop two great catchers right now if we mix them into the lineup more often with a guy like Austin Hedges on the bench. Because now, guess what? Austin Hedges is off the team. You have two young catchers on this roster that could that could use his mentorship, but they only got it for what, a month? Month and a half, not even.
But this is why I feel like all the stuff thrown at Shelton is a mistake, because I just don't see that being on him. You can say, oh, he should have fought back. Well, we don't know if he fought back or not. We don't know, because let's put it this way. If you went out on Twitter today and you started listing, oh, my boss is an idiot, he everything he does helps me to do his job, I could do this thing so much faster, you wouldn't have a job by the end of the week, right? And so,
if you work in a bad workplace, I think a good boss, a good GM would say, let's talk about it. Well, let's bring things to the table, and see who's right and who's wrong.
You don't go to the media with that stuff, though.
Well, when it gets this ridiculous, I think you should.
That's fair. It's a fine thing to hold. I just don't think that's how it works.
I maybe it's the Pittsburgher in me, but I wouldn't be able to collect a check knowing that I am just, all right, we're going to have Josh Palacios be our leadoff hitter today. And that's good enough for me.
I'll say this
good enough for me.
I think it was a valid criticism. I think Palacios, where he bats, that's a Shelton decision. And I think the idea behind is that he's a lefty against a righty. And I think he kind of just falls to the top of the lineup to make everyone else more comfortable where they are, if that makes any sense. Reynolds is going 2, your first baseman's going for Piguero, Sawinski are going to be the 5 through 7's already decided. So Palacios just kind of falls backward into leadoff somehow. But I do think that's a valid thing to say. But, I guess I don't blame Shelton for the fact that he has to play Josh Palacios.
I'm not saying Josh Palacios doesn't have to play. I think he deserves to play. I just don't think he deserves to be the leadoff guy.
I think that's fair. And I don't think Shelton is faultless. I would and I think my biggest criticism is he doesn't seem all that bothered by losing.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest.
That doesn't sit well with Pittsburghers.
I think that is also a problem that stems down from the front office not caring about winning. And so I think at that point it's okay, well, my boss doesn't care. So I think all I can do is keep the vibes as good as possible, I think. And I think that's kind of his managerial style at the moment. But again, I don't think that's a Derek Shelton thing. And if we were to fire him for someone a lot more fiery like Aaron Boone, wouldn't be upset. And if Derek Shelton has to go to get the coaches out, who I think are more important than the manager, you can disagree with me there.
All right, there's another one. There's another point to argue. I can't argue for too long, but I'm going to keep arguing until I can't anymore. Does Derek Shelton not coach these guys? Is he not a coach?
I think he's a coach, but I don't think he's – so, like, for example, I don't think he works that much with, say, Rowanzi Contreras or Luis Ortiz. I think that for the most part, the manager is there to help the assistant coaches. But
hold on.
Ultimately,
you mentioned there. Two pitchers. He was there. A hitting coach.
He is there to help the guys who were hired to do the hitting and the pitching. I don't think he's the main guy because he's not the hitting coach. So that's why I think Andy Haynes and Oscar Marin are way bigger issues than Shelton ever could be.
And I don't disagree with that either. But I also just don't see why the first example you give is two pitchers when he was a hitting coach.
Well, I gave those two examples is because they're the biggest, to me, examples of guys, young prospects who are failing.
Okay. Because I wouldn't expect him to be trying to help the pitchers. Okay. I would expect him to have a staff and trust in Oscar Marin to be able to fix them and be like, listen, this is I'm not good at this. So you need to be the expert in this. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think he could help the hitters more. And with Andy Haynes, he can work together with him to try and figure out how to fix this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is it's an organizational philosophy kind of problem in terms of how they approach. And I think Shelton might agree with it, but I don't think he's the one implementing it, if that makes any sense. I think that stems from the player development side. I forget his name, but Andy Haynes, who, but again, it's not like the NFL, right? Like Mike Tomlin, one of the biggest problems with Mike Tomlin as a coach, right, is that he cannot hire a coordinator to save his life. I think that's fair to say, right? Everything else about Mike Tomlin's great, but his coordinator decisions are kind of bad. Derek Shelton's not out there hiring Andy Haynes. He is not responsible for putting the coaching staff together. He is hired to be the regional manager of the coaching staff, is what I see it as.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure. My next thing, this is probably going to be the last thing because I got to get going.
Yeah.
My last thing here is, why doesn't he care? Why doesn't he show that he cares? To me, if you argue on let's go back to the example of Ke'Bryan Hayes striking out looking to lose. I'm pretty sure that lost us the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you lost the game. Whatever. You know that's going to happen. But why are you not upset? He literally just turned around and went to the clubhouse. He didn't even think to yell or be like, "Hey, you've been screwing this up all game. My guys are out here fighting, and it's you can't get it together." I just need to see that fire. And like you said, if the organizational philosophy is we're going to be bad for a little bit, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, thinking as a player, I would want my manager to stick up for me, even if we just lost the game and there's no coming back.
Mm-hmm. I guess
I just don't see him sticking up for the guys as much as it claims that he's loved by the team,
Well, I guess my thing to that would say, who leads the MLB in ejections right now?
Is it Aaron Boone?
It is Aaron Boone.
Yep.
The Yankees aren't doing too hot, even though their manager is constantly out there sticking up for themselves. I just think it's a completely different style of managerial stuff where, I think we as fans like to see managers getting hot and fired up. In terms of how that actually conduces to winning baseball games and making a winning culture, I don't know if that's actually something that matters.
So here's the difference between these two examples. We have the Pirates and the Yankees. The Yankees are a team full of all-stars, soon-to-be all-stars, just a bunch of guys that already, like, they could win with Derek Shelton as their manager, is kind of what I'm getting at. Obviously, they've been bad. I think that the winning culture comes from how hot Aaron Boone gets. And it's more frustrating for Yankees fans that the players aren't responding to that. And it's vice versa when it comes to the Pirates. The players are going out there trying to win, and then when there's a bad call or something that somebody should stick up for somebody, the one guy that's supposed to do it doesn't.
You don't think that the winning culture doesn't come from like an organizational expectation to win, though? Like, if you were on the Yankees, you were expected to win, and that doesn't start at the manager. That starts with like the entire organization. Like, the Yankees were a winning team before Aaron Boone ever became manager, even though he's actually, I think, the winningest manager in a Yankee hit, like in terms of win percentage, to like 4 years or whatever. So I don't know. It's like I feel like Derek Shelton does care. I just don't think he's the type of guy to rant and rave at the umpires about it. I think he's more of the guy to show his support. He's going to call him like personally into his office and like have a conversation with him. I feel like he's more of like a personal players manager. And I know the fans don't like to see that because like everyone loves a good ejection. Everyone loves.
I don't even care about the ejection. I just want you to stick up for the guy.
I'm just saying, like, everyone loves that. Like, everyone will remember Lloyd McClellan's name forever. Because he like was crawling on the infield in the 95 loss season. I just feel like there's so much that happens behind the scenes that I don't care if he doesn't go out and yell at an umpire. It matters so little to me.
I mean, to your point, I mean, he has no room to because of the lineups he puts out. So
the lineups that just hung like 5 runs a game on the Braves.
He got lucky. That's all I can say. What's his winning percentage with this team?
Whose fault is that? Is that Derek Shelton's fault?
So that's what you do with this whole argument. You've been doing it on Twitter for a week. You're like, well, you can't blame Shelton for having bad players. It's like, well, maybe if you use the bad players in a positive way, it might even out and they'll be an average team.
We still have Osvaldo Bido in this lineup, man. I don't know how you can think this is going to be an average team. I genuinely believe the Braves would be just as good if you replaced their manager with Derek Shelton. That's how little I think managers actually make a difference in terms of winning baseball.
So the manager doesn't matter, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. I would say
why do you
I would say
scratch and claw and plead with everybody that Shelton doesn't need to be fired?
Because I think I said this before, I think the emphasis and the focus on Shelton is missing the forest for the trees. You're focusing, you're directing your anger at the wrong.
So then as a front office guy, wouldn't you be like, hey, we could get some heat off our back if we just fire this guy? So why isn't he fired already? I bet you if Shelton was fired, Ben Cherington would have another 8 years in Pittsburgh just because he made that choice.
Because hopefully front offices don't act based on how fans react. Could you imagine if the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I mean, hey, no. Penguins, I'm not saying the fans react this way.
Could you imagine if like the Steelers cared about fan reaction? They never would have won anything.
But guess what? Everybody wants Mike Tomlin fired, but he's had 19 straight winning seasons. If the result is winning and people still want a guy fired, front office isn't going to fire anybody. But if the result is losing, why not have a scapegoat?
I don't know, because I would hope that the front office.
Doug, get the hell out of here, Doug.
I would hope that the front office doesn't feel the need to like throw people under the bus. Like if they are trust so little in their plan that's what they feel like they need to do to placate fans, and this thing was never going to succeed in the first place.
Okay, I don't disagree with you there, but
I understand. Let me put it this way. I understand why fans do not like Shelton.
Yeah.
I do. I don't even think like he's an incredible manager. I think he's a fine manager, and I think
he's not fine. He's bad.
I think he is perfectly fine for what he has been asked to do. I think before you could ever judge him, I would need to see him with an actual team. But if anyone could sit here and tell me with a straight face that the Pirates would have more than 10 extra wins over the last 4 seasons with any manager of your choice, I don't agree with that. I don't think the manager moves the needle that much.
Okay.
And I know.
I
know I am.
Don't.
Here's the
thing. Here's the thing.
Opinion.
We agree on these things, right? It's like the SpongeBob meme, where it's Patrick talking to the villain guy. I don't even know his name, but the villain guy is like, "Is this yours?" And Patrick goes, "Yes." Yeah. "Is this your name?" "Yes." Does it? And then he's like, "Does this go in your wallet?" And he goes, "No, it's not mine." Mm-hmm. So it's like that's your argument with Shelton. It's like, he's bad. He's not great. He doesn't do anything for this team, but you still want him to be the manager.
I think I've been pretty consistent is that I don't think he's a bad manager. I think that he is fine for keeping the clubhouse vibes good, but ultimately you could replace him with Jim Russell, and the team
Doug,
will still
get out of here, man.
Like I love Clint Hurdle, special place in my heart. The team would be just as bad with Clint Hurdle as manager. You could get prime Joe Torre as his team, and the team would still be just as bad. So I feel like directing all this anger daily at Derek Shelton when he has had to play Hoy Park in right field doesn't make any sense.
Has he had to, or has he chose to?
I mean, last year, Ben Cherington didn't even give him 3 outfielders to play for half the season. So I'm going to say that's not on him. So
I had another argument for you too, but I'm running out of time.
That's fine.
And it was like, we're just going to do it real quick. You're saying it's not Shelton's choice to play Henry Davis in right field.
Correct. I 100% believe that.
So that answer tells me that you think Ben Cherington is making the lineup every day and not Shelton.
I think it tells me that that Ben Cherington gets to decide who plays, like what positions players play, because that's how front offices work.
I don't.
Yeah, they clearly they
you
don't.
Drafted a catcher, and then you're like, okay, here's your other position, right field. But now, you're only going to play right field.
I think what they're doing with Davis is dumb.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's on Shelton. Like I don't think that Shelton gets to decide that, hey, because there's this quote that came out that said that Ben Cherington basically said, oh yeah, well, if management wants Henry Davis to catch, he'll catch. Which I think is a big fat lie, because he says two things. Like, one, you're letting an idiot manager ruin the development of your catcher and you don't care. Or 2, you're lying and you're not letting him play catcher. And I cannot fathom Ben Cherington just letting, if Ben Cherington wants Davis to play catcher, I cannot fathom him being okay with the past month of him playing in right field. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think it has to be, we must see Henry Davis as a right fielder, and we don't trust him enough to play catcher. You know what I mean?
All right. I think we debated enough. I think I wouldn't say I lost the debate here, but I think I forced you to make more sense.
I think I've always made sense.
Well, now it's in long form on
a lot of I think you're just taking like my Discord messages, which are all like very like heavily laced in sarcasm, and like putting it as like my actual like thoughts. But yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, we went way over the time we should have, but we promised this debate. It was about a 20-minute debate.
It was fun.
But it was fun. We had a good time. The Pirates once again win 7-5. Yeah. Let's get out of here. Good job. Good Pirates W. See ya.
See ya.
Hey, you all, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.